first time my phone buzzed against the kitchen counter beside my half-finished grocery list. I saw my stepsister's name and a calendar reminder for her. Baby shower on the same screen, and my stomach dropped so hard I stayed quiet and just stared like my voice had been unplugged. My name is Magnolia. I am 28, and I work as a pediatric nurse on a busy night shift unit where I have learned how to stay calm when everything inside me is screaming. That afternoon, I was standing in my apartment with my engagement ring on, practicing the kind of smile that looks effortless in photos. I had a bouquet guide open on my laptop, a stack of paint swatches for table accents on my coffee table, and a handwritten list that said things like cupcakes, paper lanterns, and mini bottles of sparkling cider. I was trying to make the shower feel warm and classy because that is who I am when I love someone. I overdo it, I plan, I show up early, I carry other people's stress like it is my own purse. My stepsister Zara was pregnant. Everybody knew that. She was glowing in that sharp, curated way she always had, the kind of glow that looks like confidence, but smells like control if you get close enough. What nobody was supposed to know was what the text said. Zara, we need to talk. It is about Griffin. Griffin was my fiancé. He was 28, a project manager who wore that clean-cut, dependable look like armor. We had been together since we were teenagers. 10 years of inside jokes, Sunday errands, and him reaching for my hand in parking lots like it was automatic. 10 years of me believing I was safe with him. I read her message again, then again. My mouth went dry. My hands went cold. I did not respond. I did not call. I did not do the dramatic thing. I did the thing I do at work when a monitor alarm goes off and parents start shaking. I forced my breathing to stay even, and I moved through my apartment like a person who was not about to crack. My phone buzzed again. Zara, please do not freak out. I am serious. I still did not respond. I turned my phone face down as if that could make the words less real. A few minutes later, my mother called. Not Zara's father's wife, not my stepfather, not anyone else. My mother, the woman who used to braid my hair and tell me I was strong. The woman who still called me her girl even though I paid my own bills and carried my own life. I answered because some habits are older than pride. Her voice was too cheerful. It had that sunny brightness that always meant she was trying to smooth something sharp. Magnolia, honey, are you on your way to Audrey's later? She said you were bringing the ribbon samples. Audrey was my other stepsister. She was older and softer. She was the one who felt guilty when Zara didn't. Audrey was the one who apologized for things she did not do. Yeah, I said. My voice sounded normal and that scared me more than if it had broken. Good, my mom said. Also, do not forget your share for the stroller and the venue deposit. Audrey is stressed and I told her you were good for it. You always are. There it was. The little hook she used on me every time. You always are. You always do the right thing. You always make it work. I looked at my grocery list. Eggs, dish soap, baby shower favor bags. Mom, I said carefully, did Zara tell you anything? Anything important? There was a pause, the kind of pause that is not empty. It is full, it is crowded. It is someone choosing their words like they are stepping through glass. Magnolia, she said, and my name sounded like a warning. Do not do this right now. My chest tightened. The air felt thin. Do what? I asked. Ask questions? Another pause. Then she went quiet in a way that felt practiced. Honey, she said, families go through things. The baby is coming. We need to focus on the baby. My fingers curled around the pen on the counter. I pressed hard enough that the plastic bit into my skin. I said, is Griffin the father? Silence. Long, heavy, so heavy it felt like it had weight. And then she did not say no. I stared at him. He rushed on. I did something awful. I made a mistake. I was drunk the first time and Zara came on to me. She was upset. She said she felt alone. She said she needed someone who understood her. He spoke faster, like speed could outrun truth. And the other times, I asked quietly. His eyes flickered away. He swallowed. I do not have an excuse, he admitted. I was stressed. Mom was sick for a while. You were working nights. Everything felt. I do not know. I felt like I was drowning. I held his gaze. I did not blink. So you climbed into my stepsister's bed to breathe, I said. He flinched. He took a step toward me. Magnolia, I love you. I want to marry you. I want a life with you. I also cannot be like my dad. He left. I cannot leave my kid. The words dropped between us like something dead. My kid. He said it like it was already decided. Like I was already supposed to adapt. Like I was supposed to swallow this and keep smiling for family photos. I nodded slowly, like I understood. Like I was reasonable. Like I was calm. Inside something broke so cleanly it almost felt quiet. I walked to the closet by the front door and pulled out a medium-sized storage bin. I slid it across the floor toward him. He frowned. What is that? Your stuff, I said. His mouth opened. Magnolia, wait. I went to my bedroom and grabbed his extra shoes from under my bed. I grabbed the hoodie he left here for weeks that still smelled like him. I grabbed the toiletries he kept in my bathroom like he belonged here. I did not cry. I did not yell. I just placed everything on top of the bin one item at a time, like I was clearing a wound. Griffin's eyes filled with panic. Please, we can go to counseling. We can work through it. Zara said there is a chance it is not mine. I paused for the first time. A chance, I repeated. He nodded quickly. She said she was seeing someone else for a bit. She said she was not sure. I stared at him, and in that moment, I understood something that made me feel cold all the way down to my bones. Even if the baby is not his, he still chose her. More than once. Over months. With my ring waiting on a finger that did not know it was being mocked, I walked to the counter, picked up the takeout bag, and handed it back to him. Take it, I said. I am not hungry. He stood there, frozen like he expected me to waver. Instead, I opened my phone and quietly turned on the voice memo recorder. I held the screen at my side so he could not see. My thumb hovered steady. My voice stayed flat. I asked Griffin, say it again. Say what you told me. I want to hear it clearly. His brow furrowed. Why? Because my mother just told me she wants us to be a family, I said calmly. And I want to make sure I understand what you are asking me to accept. He hesitated. I tilted my head, gentle, almost kind, like I was giving him room. And that is when he started talking again. Quick real-life pause. Some nights I am editing these stories and I feel like I am talking into an empty room. If you are still here, hit like, subscribe, and tell me your city and state or your country. All right, now let me take you back. Griffin's voice softened, like he thought tenderness would save him. He said, I slept with Zara more than once. She is pregnant. I might be the father. I want to be there for my child, but I also want to be with you. The recorder captured every word. He reached out like he wanted to touch my arm. I stepped back. I kept my expression calm. Even though my heart was pounding so hard it made my vision blur at the edges. I said, pick up the bin. His lips trembled. Magnolia, please. Pick it up, I repeated. He bent down, grabbed the sides, and lifted it like it weighed nothing. Like 10 years weighed nothing. At the door, he turned and tried one last time. He said, your mom thinks you will come around. She thinks you will be the bigger person. Something in me almost laughed, but it came out as a breath. I said, tell her she finally picked a side. It is just not mine. He stood there for a moment like he wanted to argue. Then he walked out. I closed the door softly. Not a slam, not a performance, just a quiet click that sounded like the end of a chapter. I leaned my forehead against the wood and let myself feel it. The shame first, the embarrassment, the sense that everyone had been looking at me for months like I was the last to know a joke, then anger, hot and sharp, then fear, because I realized something else. My mother did not just know. She had been organizing my participation. She had been guiding me into the role they needed. Co-host, smiler, forgiver, the bigger person, the stepmother. I walked back to my kitchen and looked at my laptop screen. The baby shower checklist was still open, innocent and cheerful. I reached for my phone and scrolled through the group chat with my mother Audrey and Zara. The messages were full of planning, decorations, registry items, deadlines, and then I saw it. A message from my mother from weeks ago that I had barely noticed at the time. Mom, do not worry about the big gift. We are handling it. Just show up with love. Handling it. I stared at those words until my eyes burned. My hands stopped shaking, not because I was okay, but because something inside me clicked into a different mode. If they wanted me quiet, I could be quiet. If they wanted me to show up, I could show up, just not in the way they thought. I opened my notes app and started a list, calm and precise. First, proof. Second, access. Third, timing. And while the apartment around me stayed still, while the city outside kept living like nothing had changed, I made one decision that felt like oxygen. I would not ruin their plan loudly. I would let it happen exactly the way they wanted. Then I would change who was watching. I set my phone down on the counter, then picked it up again and opened my settings like I was checking the weather. I turned off every shared permission Griffin ever had. Location sharing, streaming accounts, the little smart lock app that controlled my building's front door. It was amazing how many invisible doors a person can hold open for someone they trust. Then I opened my laptop and changed. Passwords, email, banking, work portal, everything. My hands were steady now. My brain was not. It kept trying to replay the same images I never actually saw. Griffin and Zara in a room I did not know. In a bed I did not choose. Laughing, whispering, making plans. I forced myself to focus on facts instead of pictures. Proof, access, timing. Proof was easy. I already had a recording. I took screenshots of every message Zara had ever sent me in the past few weeks, even the ones that seemed harmless at the time. I scrolled back through months of family group chats and saved the ones where my mom had pushed me into the shower planning. I saved the lines where she pressured me about money. I saved the little notes about how important it was for everyone to be together. I did not do it because I wanted to blast them online. I did it because I needed something to hold on to when people started twisting the story. Because the first lesson I learned as an adult is that memory can be questioned, but a timestamp cannot. Access was next. I looked at my engagement ring again, then slid it off and set it in a small bowl like it was something sharp. I wrapped it in tissue paper and placed it in the back of my closet behind winter boots. Not to be dramatic, to be final. Then I texted Audrey. I kept it short. I cannot co-host anymore. I will not be contributing money. Please remove my name from anything. I did not explain. I did not argue. I did not say sorry. She replied almost instantly. Audrey, please, can you just come talk? Mom is crying. Zara is scared. We can work this out. I stared at the words. Work this out. Like betrayal was a scheduling problem. I typed one sentence. Magnolia, I am done being the solution to everyone else's mess. Then I put my phone down again and waited. My whole body felt like it was buzzing. But underneath that buzz was a strange calm. The kind that comes right before you make a decision you cannot undo. I went to work that night because staying home alone felt like standing under a slow drip. At the hospital, I did what I always did. I checked vitals. I adjusted meds. I smiled at parents and told them their kids were going to be okay even when I was not fully sure. I moved through crisis after crisis while my own life sat behind my ribs like a heavy stone. Around midnight, I stepped into the supply closet and listened to my voice. Memo again through one earbud. I slept with Zara more than once. She is pregnant. I might be the father. I want to be there for my child, but I also want to be with you. It sounded so clean when he said it. Almost reasonable. I turned the volume down and stared at the shelves of gauze and saline. For a second, I imagined showing it to my mom, letting her hear her favorite almost son admit what he had done, watching her face change. Then I pictured her defending him anyway, saying he was sorry, saying he was scared, saying the baby mattered more, and something in me hardened. People do not change because you show them the truth. They change because the truth starts costing them something. When my shift ended, I did not go home. I drove straight to my therapist's office, still wearing scrubs under my coat, hair pulled back, eyes too dry. I had only started therapy a few months earlier for stress. I never thought I would be walking in there with this kind of wound. I told her everything. The cheating, the pregnancy, my mother knowing, the baby shower, the way my family talked about forgiveness like it was a job I was hired for. My therapist listened without flinching, then asked one simple question. What do you want your life to look like a year from now? The question hit me harder than the betrayal because it forced me to picture a future without them. A blank space where my mother had always been. A place where I was not the reliable one, not the fixer, not the bigger person. I said, I want peace. I want to wake up and not feel like I am bracing for someone to use me. Then she asked, what boundary would create that peace? I did not hesitate. No contact with Griffin. No contact with Zara. Minimal contact with my mother until she stops trying to sell me a fantasy where I raise someone else's betrayal like it is a family blessing. My therapist nodded like that made sense, like I was not crazy for choosing myself. By the time I left her office, the sun was up and I felt hollow in a way that was almost clean. Timing was next. My mother had a weekly volunteer shift at a community kitchen. She always left mid-morning and came home early afternoon, flushed with purpose and smelling like coffee. I had a key to their house. I had never used it without telling her before, but my trust was already bleeding out and I was done asking permission to protect myself. I drove to their house and parked on the street like a stranger. The neighborhood looked the same as it always did. The same trimmed lawns, the same wind chimes, the same illusion that nothing ugly could happen behind nice front doors. I unlocked the door and stepped inside. The house smelled like laundry detergent and the cinnamon candles my mom loved. It felt like walking into a memory that had turned on me. I went straight to her bedroom and opened the jewelry drawer. My grandmother's pieces were there. A simple gold chain, a small pearl pin, the ring with the tiny sapphire that my grandmother used to twist on her finger when she was thinking. I held each item for a second, then placed them gently into a pouch I brought with me. I did not rush. I did not panic. Then I went to the attic. The attic was cramped and hot, full of boxes labeled in my mom's handwriting. Holiday decorations, old school projects, photos, baby clothes saved like soft trophies. I found the box with my name on it and pulled it out. Inside were things I had forgotten I ever owned. A yearbook, a cracked picture frame with me and my dad at a beach when I was little, a folded letter my mother wrote me the day I left for college, telling me she was proud of me. My throat tightened. For a second, grief tried to flood in. I pushed it back. I dug deeper and found a stuffed rabbit with one floppy ear. Not the one I had lost as a kid, but close enough that my chest ached. I hugged it once, quickly like a guilty reflex, and put it in the box. Then I saw a stack of envelopes shoved behind the insulation. Prenatal appointment summaries, insurance paperwork, and on the top page, in the blank where it asked for emergency contact, was Griffin's name. Not an ex-boyfriend who wanted nothing to do with her. Not a mystery man Griffin. My fingers went numb. I took photos of every page. I made sure his name was clear. I made sure the dates were visible. I made sure the clinic's header was visible. Then I slid everything back exactly as I found it. I did not want to steal her paperwork. I wanted to prove her lie. On my way out, I passed the living room and saw framed family photos on the wall. My mom between my stepfather and Zara, all of them smiling. Another photo with Audrey and Zara at a graduation. Another with my mom holding Zara's belly. Both of them glowing like this pregnancy was a shared victory. And there I was in the corner of one photo, half cut off like an afterthought. I stood there for a long moment, listening to the quiet hum of the fridge, and felt something settle inside me. I had spent years trying to earn my place in a family that only loved me when I was convenient. I carried my box to my car, locked the door behind me, and drove home. When I got back to my apartment, I noticed a missed call from Griffin's mother. My stomach turned. She had always been kind to me, not warm in a smothering way, but steady. The kind of woman who told the truth without dressing it up. The kind of mother Griffin did not deserve. I stared at the missed call for a second, then called her back. She answered on the second ring. "Magnolia," she said softly. "Are you okay?" That was all it took. My throat closed, and for the first time since it started, tears came. Quiet ones. The kind that slide down your face without sound because you are too tired to perform your pain. I said, "He cheated on me with my stepsister. She is pregnant." There was a silence. A different kind than my mother's, not avoidance, processing. Then Griffin's mom said, "I knew he had been acting like a coward, but I did not know this. I am sorry. I am so sorry." I wiped my face with the sleeve of my sweatshirt. I wanted to tell her everything. I wanted to spill it all and watch someone finally be outraged for me. Instead, I said, "I have proof, and I am not going to scream about it. I need people to stop making me the one who carries this." She exhaled, slow and controlled. "Send it to me," she said. "The recording, any documents. I will handle my son." Handle. A word that sounded like weight shifting. I hesitated only a second before I texted her the audio file and the photos of the prenatal paperwork. Not because I wanted revenge through her, but because Griffin had used his father's abandonment like a shield. He had made himself the victim, and I needed his mother to see what kind of man he had chosen to be. Within minutes, she replied. "I received it. Do not answer him again. Let me take care of this." I set my phone down, and for the first time, I felt like I was not alone in the room with the betrayal. That evening, my mother texted me, "Mom, please come over. We need to talk like adults. Zara is crying. Griffin is willing to apologize. This baby needs love." I stared at the message until the screen dimmed. Then I typed back one word. Okay, that was it. No anger, no argument. Just okay. Because the truth is, I was going to come. I was going to show up exactly the way they wanted. Calm, polite, quiet. And I was going to let them get comfortable. The baby shower was 2 days later at a rented event room above a bright little cafe downtown. My name was still on the co-host line of the digital invitation. My mother still expected me to stand next to Zara and smile in photos, like nothing happened. I woke up that morning, showered, and dressed in a simple dark blue dress that made me look composed. I curled my hair neatly. I put on mascara. I looked like someone attending a celebration, not someone walking into a trap. Before I left, I printed copies of the prenatal paperwork, where Griffin's name was written as emergency contact. I printed a transcript of the recording, just the key lines typed out cleanly. I slid everything into a plain manila envelope. Then I placed the envelope into my tote bag, beside a baby blanket I had bought months ago, back when I thought Zara's baby would be my niece in the normal way, not in the way that cut my life in half. At the venue, I walked in with my head up. The room was decorated in soft colors, a balloon arch, a gift table, a banner with Zara's name in glittery script. People turned when they saw me. Friends, family friends, my stepfather's coworkers, women from my mother's volunteer group. Their faces all held the same expression. Pleasant, curious, like they had heard something, but not enough to pick a side. My mother rushed over, eyes glossy, smile tight. She pulled me into a hug that felt like a performance for the room. "I am so glad you came," she whispered into my hair. "Just be nice, please. Today is not about you." I leaned back and smiled softly. "Of course," I said. Across the room, Zara sat on a decorated chair with her hands folded over her belly, looking fragile on purpose. Griffin stood near the back, pretending to be helpful, holding a stack of cups like a man trying to look harmless. When his eyes met mine, he looked relieved, like my calmness meant forgiveness, like my silence meant surrender. I walked to the gift table and set down my tote bag. Then I picked it back up and slid the manila envelope out just enough to feel the edge under my fingers. Not yet. Timing. I turned and walked toward the center of the room, smiling at people, accepting compliments, letting them underestimate me. While my proof sat in my bag like a quiet blade, I moved through the room like I belonged there. Because for years I had trained myself to belong wherever my mother pointed. I greeted my stepfather's friends. I complimented a coworker's earrings. I laughed at a joke that was not funny. Every time someone touched my arm and said how excited they were for Zara, I smiled like my teeth were not clenched. Zara watched me the whole time. She tried to look serene, but I could see the tiny cracks. The way her fingers kept smoothing the same spot on her dress. The way she kept checking her phone under the gift table. The way she glanced toward Griffin like he was both backup and liability. Griffin, on the other hand, looked almost hopeful. He stayed near the snacks, refilling cups, playing the role of helpful family friend. He avoided the center of the room like the truth had a radius. My mother kept orbiting me, whispering little instructions like I was still 12. "Smile, honey. Do not leave early. Please just get through today." I nodded each time. I did not argue. I did not correct her. I just said, "Okay." At the front of the room, there was a small table with a guest book and a stack of advice cards. The sign said, "Leave a note for the baby." People loved those. They wrote sweet things, funny things, little wishes that felt like blessings. I walked over and picked up one of the blank cards. My mother appeared at my shoulder immediately, as if she could sense movement that might turn dangerous. Her eyes were shiny. Her lipstick was perfect. Her hands were trembling just slightly. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for being mature." I looked at her, really looked, and it hit me that she did not know me at all anymore. She knew the version of me she had trained, the version that carried everyone else. She did not know what happens when that version finally finally drops the load. I smiled softly and said, of course. Then I turned the card over and wrote one sentence in careful, neat handwriting. Please include Dad in the memories you save. I slid the card back into the stack, blank side up so no one could see what I had written, and stepped away. The shower continued. There were games. There were photos. There was that sweet, sticky energy in the room that comes from celebration and sugar, and people wanting to believe life is simple. Then my mother clinked a spoon against a glass and announced it was time for a toast. Zara dabbed at her eyes like she was already emotional. My mother stepped into the center and lifted her cup. She talked about new life, about second chances, about family being bigger than mistakes. Her voice shook at just the right moments. People nodded along, soft faces, easy sympathy. Then she turned, smiling, and said, and now I want Magnolia to say a few words, because she has been so supportive during all of this. There were quiet claps. People looked at me expectantly. I felt my heart thump once, hard, like a door closing. I stepped forward. I did not pick up the microphone. I did not need it. The room was quiet enough already. I looked at Zara first. She stared back, chin lifted, eyes narrowed, daring me. Then I looked at my mother, and I asked one small question in the calmest voice I have ever used. Mom, since you want this baby surrounded by love and truth, what should we put on the keepsake card for the father's name? The room shifted. It was subtle, but it happened, like air pressure changing before a storm. My mother's smile froze. Her eyes flicked toward Zara, then toward Griffin, then back to me. Zara's mouth tightened. Someone in the back laughed softly, confused, like they thought it was a normal question. My mother said, Magnolia, honey, that is not appropriate. I tilted my head, still calm. Why not? I said. People are writing notes for the baby. If we are making a memory box, we should include the father's name so the child has the full story. Zara spoke quickly, voice sweet and sharp at the same time. He is not involved, she said. It is complicated. I nodded like I believed her. Okay, I said simply. Then we will leave it blank. She relaxed half an inch. Griffin exhaled like he had been holding his breath underwater, and that was the moment I moved. I reached into my tote bag and pulled out the manila envelope. I did not wave it. I did not hold it up like a weapon. I just set it gently on the gift table beside the guest book. Then I turned to my mother and said, I brought something you will want to keep safe, since you have been helping Zara with paperwork and planning. My mother stared at the envelope like it might bite. I added quietly, it is for you, not for the room. That was the silent part. The private invitation. The chance for her to choose dignity. But my mother had always cared more about control than dignity. She picked up the envelope, forced a laugh, and said, what is this now? She opened it. I watched her eyes move across the top page. I watched the color drain from her face in slow motion. I watched her lips part like she wanted to speak, then close again like she realized she had no safe words. People noticed. Of course they did. A room full of women notices everything. Audrey stepped forward, alarmed. Mom, what is it? Zara stood up so fast her chair scraped. Magnolia, what did you do? I did not respond to Zara. I kept my eyes on my mother. My mother's hands started shaking harder. She flipped the page as if a different page would offer a different reality. Then she saw the transcript. Her eyes lifted to mine, wide, pleading, furious, betrayed, all at once. Magnolia, she whispered, like she was begging me to stop. I said nothing, because I had already stopped doing the arguing part years ago. I had just never admitted it. Zara reached for the envelope, but my mother instinctively pulled it back, clutching it to her chest like it was suddenly precious. Griffin took a step forward, face pale. Magnolia, he started. I finally looked at him. I said, you can stop? You already said everything I needed. My voice was still quiet. The room was not. Whispers began. People leaned toward each other. Someone's phone came up, not filming yet, but ready. Zara's face twisted with anger. She hissed, you are ruining my baby shower? I blinked slowly and said, no, I am just refusing to fund it with my silence. My mother tried to salvage it, because that is what she does. She forced her smile back onto her face like a mask and said, everyone, let us just focus on the baby. This is not the time. But it was too late. The lie had cracked in front of witnesses. And once that happens, it never seals the same way again. I picked up my tote bag and turned to leave. Audrey grabbed my wrist. Her eyes were wet. Magnolia, please, talk to me. Please do not do this. I looked at her hand on my wrist. Then I looked at her face. I said gently, I am not doing anything to you. I am just finally doing something for me. I slid my wrist free and walked out. No screaming, no throwing, no dramatic collapse. Just a quiet exit that let the room fill in the blanks on its own. Outside, the air felt sharp and clean. My chest hurt, but the tightness had loosened, like a knot finally giving up. I sat in my car and did not cry. My phone buzzed. A text from Griffin's mother. I am on my way. Do not go back in. You did the right thing. I stared at the message, then set the phone down. I drove home. That night, my mother called over and over. Zara texted me insults that tried to sound brave. Griffin sent paragraphs, apologies, promises, blame disguised as sadness. I did not answer any of them. Instead, I emailed my landlord and asked about ending my lease early. I called my dad because there are some people in this world who will love you without asking you to shrink first. My dad did not ask what I did wrong. He did not tell me to be the bigger person. He just said, come here. We will figure it out. Within a week, I had a plan. Within 2 weeks, I had boxes. Within a month, I had a new city. On my last day in town, I made one final stop. I drove to Griffin's mother's house to return. A few things she had given us over the years. A casserole dish. A framed photo of Griffin as a child that I could not bear to throw away. She opened the door and pulled me into a hug that felt real. The kind that does not try to reposition you for appearances. I am sorry, she said into my hair. I am sorry my son did this to you. I pulled back. My voice was steady when I said, thank you for believing me. She nodded, then handed me a small box. Inside was a stuffed rabbit. One floppy ear, slightly worn, cleaned and stitched in one place with careful thread. My breath caught. She said Audrey came by after the shower. She was crying. She told me you had been looking for a toy you lost years ago. The one Zara took. She said she found this in a storage bin when she was looking for baby decorations. She asked me if I could give it to you because she was too ashamed. I stared at the rabbit and something hot stung my eyes. I whispered, she had it the whole time. Griffin's mother said quietly, some people collect trophies, some people collect peace. You get to choose what you collect now. I held the rabbit to my chest like it weighed more than fabric, like it weighed like my childhood, like it weighed like proof that my instincts had always been right. When I left her house, I did not feel like I was running away. I felt like I was walking toward myself. Months later, in my new apartment, I painted my nails whatever color I wanted. I adopted a gray cat with attitude. I worked my shifts and came home to quiet that did not feel lonely. It felt earned. My mother did eventually call. She tried to sound normal, like time could erase betrayal. She talked about weather, about her garden, about how busy things had been. I listened politely. Then Then she slipped in the sentence she could not resist. The baby is here, she said. He is beautiful. Zara named him something meaningful. Griffin is involved. It is complicated, but we are making it work. You would love him. I took a slow breath, and I said, I am glad the baby is healthy. My mother waited like she expected more. Like she expected me to soften. I did not. She finally asked, are you coming home for the holidays? I looked around my apartment. My cat sleeping on the couch. My nail polish lined up on the coffee table. The stuffed rabbit sitting on a shelf like a reclaimed piece of my life. I said no. My mother's voice turned thin. You are really going to do this forever? I paused, not because I was unsure, but because I wanted my words to land cleanly. I said, you chose what kind of family you wanted. I am just choosing what kind of life I want. She started to cry. I did not. I said goodbye and ended the call. The final twist came 2 weeks later when a small envelope arrived in my mailbox with no return address. Inside was my engagement ring. No note, no apology, no explanation. Just the ring dropped back into my life like an afterthought. I held it in my palm for a long moment, then walked to my kitchen, opened the trash and let it fall. It made a soft sound when it hit the bottom, like something finally finished. I did not lose 10 years. I gained the rest of my life. Now let me step out of the story for a minute, just me talking to you. Here is the part that matters to me. Betrayal like that does not just hurt because of the cheating. It hurts because of the teamwork. It is the way people quietly cooperate to keep you last to know. It is the way they call it peace when it is really control. And if you grew up being the reliable one, the bigger person, the one who keeps the mood light, you can get trained into accepting almost anything. That is why staying calm is powerful. Not cold, not cruel. Just calm. Because when you do not explode, they cannot point at your reaction and pretend it is the problem. They cannot hide behind your volume. So you keep your receipts. You keep your boundaries. You let the truth meet the right people at the right time. And then you leave, not as a punishment, as a choice. Because the real win is not watching them suffer. The real win is waking up one day and realizing your nervous system is finally quiet, and the quiet belongs to you.